Welcome to Australians Abroad, your expat mortgage and tax guide. The ultimate resource for Australian expats and foreign investors looking to navigate the complex world of buying property and fulfilling tax obligations in Australia. Join us as we break down financing, purchasing and owning properties down under, providing essential insights to maximise your returns. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a newcomer, our candid discussions and expert advice will empower you to invest in Australian real estate with confidence. Subscribe now and embark on your journey to success in the Australian property market. Today, we're diving into the intriguing and often discussed topic of negative gearing in the land down under. Now, negative gearing might be a term that rings a bell for many of you property enthusiasts out there, but do you really know what it's all about? Let's break it down. So, what is negative gearing? Well, my friends, it's a strategy used by many property investors in Australia. The basic idea is that if the costs of owning an investment property, like interest on the mortgage, repairs and maintenance, outweigh the rental income, you end up with a negative cash flow. And guess what? You can use that loss to offset your taxable income, reducing the amount of tax you have to pay. Sounds pretty nifty, right? But before you dive headfirst into the negative gearing pool, there are a few things to consider. Firstly, it's important to remember that negative gearing is not a guaranteed money-making machine. It relies on property values increasing over time to make a profit when you eventually sell, and that's not always a sure thing. Plus, if the property stays negatively geared for too long, it could put a strain on your finances. So, my property-loving pals, while negative gearing can offer some tax benefits and potential long-term gains, it's not without its risks. As with any investment strategy, it's crucial to do your research, seek professional advice, and weigh up the pros and cons before taking the plunge. So, let's dive into the world of negative gearing and understand what it really means. Negative gearing is a concept commonly used by property investors, but it's not just limited to real estate. It's a strategy where investors borrow money to invest in assets like properties, shares or bonds, and the expenses of owning those assets outweigh the income they generate. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone do this? Well, here's the interesting part. Investors can actually deduct these losses from their capital gains tax. Imagine you purchase a property for $600,000. With a deposit and an interest rate over 30 years, if you end up with a net rental loss, you can actually claim that loss as a tax deduction. It's like having a silver lining in a cloud. But here's the thing. Negative gearing isn't just limited to property investments, it also applies to shares and bonds under Australian tax laws. However, there's a small catch. Negative gearing only works if you have taxable income in Australia. But hey, the losses incurred can be held onto and used to offset future taxes. So it's like saving them for a rainy day. Now, let's explore why negative gearing is such a hot topic in Australia. According to the Treasury, back in 2012 to 13, a whopping 68% of Aussie property investors were using this strategy to enjoy some tax perks. It's clear that negative gearing holds immense popularity among investors. But what's in it for the broader community, you might ask? Well, one potential benefit is that it could help reduce rent and stimulate housing construction. This means that negative gearing doesn't just favour high-income earners. It can have a positive impact on the entire society. However, as with anything that gains widespread popularity, negative gearing also has its fair share of critics. Take the 2010 Henry Tax Review, for instance. It took a swipe at negative gearing, suggesting changes that weren't exactly welcomed with open arms by the masses. The review argued that this strategy was crucial in increasing rental supply and making housing more affordable. So, it's clear that the topic of negative gearing is not without controversy. On one hand, it benefits investors and potentially the community. On the other hand, critics argue that changes might be necessary to make housing more affordable for everyone. It's a balancing act that continues to spark debates and discussions across the nation. Alright, when it comes to negative gearing in Australia, there's quite a lot you can claim. It's quite a list. So, what can you claim? Well, you can start with the interest on your home loans, council rates, and even those pesky strata fees. But it doesn't stop there. You can also claim maintenance costs, water charges, cleaning expenses, and even pest control. And if you're thinking long-term, don't forget about renovations or property improvements. Oh, and there are fees too, like LMI, lender's mortgage insurance, loan establishment fees, and even stamp duty on your mortgage. Now, before you start claiming everything under the sun, keep in mind that there are some things you can't claim. Stamp duty, loan balances, and lender's mortgage insurance premiums are a no-go, among others. So, it's always a good idea to keep a record of all your expenses and consult the Australian Tax Office website for the complete list of what you can and can't claim. At last, let's talk about how to calculate your negative gearing. It's a three-step dance. First, you need to figure out your property income. Then, determine your expenses. And finally, speak to a financial advisor to put all those numbers together. But remember, this only applies if you're an Australian expat dealing with income and properties in Australia. As an expat, you might be wondering if it's right for you. Well, here's the scoop. When done right, negative gearing can bring benefits to both renters and landlords. And for those of you living abroad, it offers a way to reduce and delay tax payments. But before you jump in head first, it's important to consider your own financial situation and risk tolerance. As with any investment strategy, negative gearing has its pros and cons. On one hand, it opens up the possibility of some great perks. But on the other hand, there are challenges to be aware of. For example, if property prices take a dive or you struggle to keep up with loan repayments, you could find yourself facing significant risks. That's why it's crucial to be well informed and seek advice from experts in the field. Negative gearing can be a helpful tool, but it's not for everyone. So, it's essential to weigh the potential benefits against the possible pitfalls. And remember, when it comes to your finances, knowledge is power. So do your research, seek guidance, and make informed decisions that align with your goals and circumstances. In this segment, we're diving into the debate of positive gearing versus negative gearing. Let's start with positive gearing. This strategy is when your property not only covers all its expenses, but also generates additional income. It's a great option, especially for beginners. However, it's important to note that positive gearing also means a higher tax liability. So, while you may have extra money, you'll need to set aside some of it for taxes. Now, let's take a look at negative gearing. With this approach, the focus is on long-term capital growth, even though there are some associated risks. Instead of generating a surplus of income, you may have to cover some of the property expenses out of your own pocket. The benefit, though, is that you may be able to offset these losses against your taxable income. This can provide some tax benefits, but the ultimate goal is for the property to appreciate in value over time. When deciding between these two strategies, it's important to weigh the tax advantages and the potential for property appreciation. Positive gearing may provide immediate income, but negative gearing could offer long-term growth. Consider your financial goals and risk tolerance, and consult with experts to determine which strategy aligns best with your specific circumstances. If you're considering entering this world, we have just the people for you. We at Odin Tax are experts in guiding expats and non-residents through the ins and outs of negative gearing. We understand the unique challenges that come with investing from overseas and have a wealth of resources that can truly be invaluable. But that's not all. If negative gearing has caught your attention, it's essential to take that first step towards securing a home loan that's specifically tailored to your needs. And the best way to do that is by chatting with one of our professional expert mortgage brokers who specialize in expat mortgages. We possess the knowledge and expertise to not only help you navigate through the complexities of negative gearing, but also assist you in obtaining a home loan that fits your circumstances perfectly. So, whether you're new to the world of negative gearing or you're already well versed in its intricacies, Odin Mortgage and Tax are here to support you every step of the way. There you have it. We've just explored the ins and outs of negative gearing in Australia. Whether you're thinking about negative gearing or positive gearing, the key is to stay informed and make decisions that align with your financial objectives. It's been great having you tune into Australians Abroad, your expat mortgage and tax guide. If you found this episode enlightening, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on our upcoming discussions. We'll dive into more fascinating topics next time, so stay tuned. Until then, keep making savvy choices and find success in your investments.